Frame check, done. Mic check, done. Water check, done. Let's do this thingy. Let's go. यार एक बार रिमोट जॉब लग जाए ना, फिर तुम देखना गर्ल्स एंड बॉयज, मैंने देख लिया है और आज मैं आपको इसकी सच्चाई बताऊंगा. Let's back up a little bit. Let me first define what is a remote job. A remote job is not where you work from home. That is called a work from home job. If you work for an organization in the US and you are based in India and you are paid in dollars and your compensation is almost the same as a person with your experience and your skill level in the US, then it is a true remote job. And you will not hear quite a lot of this on YouTube. The expectation of the customers is changing. They are looking for remote jobs are really tough to get. After spending 24 years in the industry, having worked remotely and earning in euros for the past 2.5 years, the moral of the story, girls and boys, is this. Hello girls and boys, how's it going? Yeah, one of the most trending topic these days on the internet is about remote jobs. Now if you just search remote jobs on YouTube, you will get videos like 1 crore, 2 crore, 5 crores working from the beach. You know, the narrative seems something like this. यार एक बार remote job लग जाए ना, फिर तुम देखना. Girls and boys, मैंने देख लिया है. मैं रिमोट जॉब करता था और आज मैं आपको इसकी सच्चाई बताऊंगा. So in this video, here's what we will talk about. We will talk about my life working remotely. We will also talk about my life after a remote job. I'll talk about the current job market, freshers as well as for seniors. Then I will go into how do you make your profile stand out amongst the 1,000 others. And finally, based on my recent experiences, I will tell you some crazy interview stories. So hang on till the end. There is a lot jam-packed in this video and you are going to learn a ton of stuff. Our target for this video is 200 comments and 100 likes. As always, after you watch this video, go to the comments, start with awesome and tell me one awesome thing that you learned from this video. If you're new here, my name is Savinder Puri and I've been in this build, DevOps, software engineering, cloud area for the past about over 20 years. I'm currently working as Associate VP, DevSecOps, SRE and AI at a system integrator. You can check on my LinkedIn profile to know more details. Along these 23-24 years, I've had the opportunity to work across India, US, UK, South Africa and a lot of other places. So strap on your seatbelts, let's get started. So number one, life with a remote job. Now for those of you who don't know, let's back up a little bit. Let me first define what is a remote job. A remote job is not one where you work from home. That is called a work from home job. You know, where you don't have to go to office. That is different. A remote job is where the organization that you're working for is in a remote country, which means it's headquartered in a different country and typically that organization does not even have most probably an office in your country or in India. So for example, if you work for an organization in the US and you are based in India and you are paid in dollars and your compensation is almost the same as a person with your experience and your skill level in the US, then it is a true remote job. All of these parameters have to meet. You cannot be paid compared to Indian salary. You should be paid as compared to the US salary. Now, the common question is, how do I get a remote job or why would somebody hire from India? Only one reason why they would hire. Because for that particular skill level, for that particular experience level, they could not find anybody locally. So they had to look for somebody outside outside of that city, outside of that country, outside of that continent. That is what is a true remote job. That is what I was doing for 2.5 years. I was working for a bank based in Georgia, Europe, working from Pune and earning in euros, right? So with that credibility set up, and I did that for about 2.5 years. Let's talk about the advantages of a remote job. Now, the most obvious advantage is money, because you get paid in European standards. In my case, you make a shit ton of money. Everybody knows about that. There's no big deal. Next one is the work-life experience, because in this kind of a setup, you're primarily working in a European setup that I was. Now, the advantage that I had was the time zone between Georgia and India is only 1.5 hours. So it's pretty much the same time zone. But because the European culture is such that they don't typically work after 5-6 in the evening, you also stop working, right? And that gives you a very good quality of life. That gives you amazing work-life balance. And because I was working with the bank, it was one geographical location, one country that the entire organization was. So there was no multi-time zone thing, right? So that gave me amazing work-life balance. Now, the third advantage of working remotely like this is the off-site trips. Now, because pretty much the entire organization is working remotely, every once in a while, they would want everybody to come together, typically at an exotic location, because, why not? People have to meet each other, they have to see each other face to face, build those relationships. That gives you amazing time to travel internationally, all expenses paid, and got to spend some quality time with your colleagues. Those are the advantages of remote jobs. Now, let me tell you some disadvantages of remote job, and you will not hear quite a lot of this on YouTube. Number one, remote jobs are really tough to get. Why is that? Remember I told you in the beginning of this video, why would somebody hire remotely? Because you possess a certain skill, a certain experience, which they are not able to find in their area, in their country, in their continent. That is why they would hire you. That is why they would pay you not according to your country, but according to their standards, assuming that is higher than the INR. Let me give you a thought experiment. How many people do you know who work in Wipro, Infosys, Capgemini, these usual suspects, India software companies that we hear about? Make a mental list. How many people do you know who work with them? I would imagine about 40-50 people, ballpark, right? Now make another list of how many people do you know who work with, let's say, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon, the FANGs. If the first was 50, I can bet you this list is not more than 10. How many people do you know personally who work in a remote job, earn in a different currency to India, and do what I just described to you? How many people do you personally know? I can challenge you, at best the answer is 1. Most probably the answer is 0. See the drop? 50, 10, 0 or 1. That's because that's the difference in the skill level, the expertise level, the value providing level. So if you think you can get to that level where you can be one of the few people in your city, your state, your country, then you would make that kind of money. Then you would get those kind of perks. If not, you can keep applying on remote jobs websites. It's not going to work. I'm telling you from my personal experience, try it out. Number 2 disadvantage of working in a remote job, taxation. Now, unless you work with remote brokering company like a remote.com or an equivalent, which manage your payroll and everything, effectively you become an employee of an Indian company through remote.com. Then taxations are very easy. It's like working in any other organization. But if you are being paid in a foreign currency and you input that foreign currency every month to India, and that's your primary source of income, then it's treated as a mini business. You have to get a proper chartered accountant, you have to file your own taxation, you have to get a GST number, you have to do tax audits every year. Life becomes bloody complicated. There's a lot of paperwork involved, there's a lot of talking with your chartered accountant, there's a lot of jugglery involved in this, right? So taxation takes up a significant amount of your time. Number 3, isolation. This is not what a lot of people talk about on YouTube. Isolation because you're working in a different country, you get to experience different cultures, and that difference of culture also initially sometimes could create isolation because you can't crack Indian jokes, you can't crack an Amitabh Bachchan joke. Those guys will not get it. They don't have the cultural nuance that you and me have. You can't talk about a Zakir Khan stand-up comedy joke with those guys. They don't know the reference. They don't know the cultural nuances. So those kind of things, little things, you start missing after a time. There is also isolation of the kind of work, of the technology stack, of the nuance of the workplace. Very, very different when you're working in a setup like this. The biggest disadvantage of working in a remote job, which nobody will ever tell you, is the fear of getting comfortable. Because hand on my heart, a remote job pampers you like nothing else. And the danger there is, if you get too comfortable with that comfort, are you learning enough? Are you staying on top of the industry? Are you at top of your own technical game? And are you still relevant in the industry? Or are you getting into a cocoon of bubble? You might be relevant in that country where you're working, but remember that this is a job. One day you will leave this and you will have to apply in your home country. How relevant are you here? Very, very tough question to ask yourself, even tougher to answer for yourself. So these are the disadvantages of a remote job. Life after a remote job. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that about 4 months back, I quit my remote job and I joined this system integrator based out of Pune, India. I'm currently Associate VP, DevSecOps, SRE and AI. And it is hybrid work, meaning I go to office sometimes. Whenever there is a customer visit, I'm definitely there, all decked up and all that. Other times I work from home as well. And my customers are distributed across the globe. This is a global role. So I work across UK, Europe, US and South Africa. So across multiple time zones. Let me paint a picture of how my last week looked like. I'll give you a glimpse of that, right? I did a bunch of interviews because I'm recruiting for several of my customers and building up my own team as well. Then I worked on creating an SRE strategy. Worked on GitHub migration with monorepo. It's a different spin to GitHub. Monorepo is a different thing. If you don't know about it, read up. Then I created a customer presentation on DevSecOps plus quality engineering. How do they work together? Then I had a workshop on pipeline standards and scaling the blueprint for a very, very large Jenkins farm. Did some more interviews. Created a deck on SRE in 2025 and beyond. Did a customer workshop on DevOps for Oracle Stack, things like Apex, eBusiness Suite, etc. Did another presentation for industry view on DevSecOps and SRE for 2025 to 2030. 5-year projection on how the industry will evolve. Did another workshop for machine learning algorithms for predictive analysis. Then had a practice leadership team meeting with my own team, situated all across the globe. Another workshop on Kubernetes plus Terraform plus Ansible architectural solution for a customer. Some more interviews for overseas positions. This is all from my calendar in the last 1 week. Hopefully this will give you an idea of how my life is going these days. After spending 24 years in the industry, having worked remotely and earning in euros for the past 2.5 years, the moral of the story, girls and boys, is this: life is always greener on the other side. When you're not doing a remote job, you want to do a remote job. When you are doing a remote job, you want to do something else. When you're doing something else, you see a friend who is doing something else again. And it goes on and on and on. There is no end to this. That's human brain. That's human psychology. So my recommendation to all of you and me is, of course, you should have bigger goals, bigger ambitions, better career, but also along with that, carry a deep sense of gratitude for what you have today. Because that job, no matter how bad it is, unless it's really toxic, that's a different thing. But majority of us are not in those kind of situations. So for the majority of us, be very, very thankful for what you have, because that job is what puts food on the table today. In parallel with that, definitely go in, enhance your skills, look at better opportunities, look at growth within your organization, outside your organization. Perfectly fine, no issues with that. So now let's talk about the current job market and what is happening out there in the industry. So first of all, the job market is getting better. New and new organizations are asking for new roles. It has started opening up. So that's good news. The second part of that is now the expectation of the customers is changing. They are looking for multidisciplinary skilled folks. What does that mean? So let's say you are less than 5 years experience, you know one cloud, AWS, you've done some projects in Kubernetes, you also know maybe a little bit of Terraform, which was great to get you a job maybe 6 months ago. Today, along with Kubernetes, Terraform, Ansible, they are also expecting you to know a lot of things about networking. They also need you to be an expert in at least one scripting language, because maybe the work that you're doing is related to machine language or data algorithms. So you must know Python. You also must know cloud, but not just the usual services. Let's say they are a data heavy shop, so they might expect Azure Data Factory, Azure Lakes, those kind of things. Because you have to understand, today's enterprise is large and diverse, and because of cost pressures, they're expecting one person to do the job of multiple people, and that's why you need multiple skills in one person. That's the reality of the situation today. What does that mean? It means you have to get into the habit of developing multiple skills. Another trend that I'm seeing these days is that not enough good quality skilled people are available. It's a truth. You might say, hey, I don't see opportunities. I'm coming from the other end where I'm saying, hey, I'm not seeing good quality candidates now. You know, candidates who can go from basic to medium to complex, very, very hard to find. If you guys know, I did a Pune meetup about a month back. I got some of my panelist friends who are 15-20 years in the industry, who are at very senior positions across the board. They also said the same thing. Very few people who understand technology well enough and who know subjects in depth. There's another thing that I'm seeing in the industry these days, and probably nobody will talk about this, but I have to say it, that there are a lot of unreasonable expectations of people who are coming in to interview. Actual facts that I've seen in the last couple of months, refusing to come for one-to-one interviews. So you do round 1, round 2, you like the guy, making sense. Now you want to sit, you're in the same city. Now you want to sit across the table face to face for one last conversation. The guy refuses. Why? It's a 1-hour drive. Number 2. I will only work from home. Well, not all opportunities are 100% work from home. A lot of the organizations these days are saying, come to office 1 day a week, 2 day a week, but complete refusal to ever come to office at all. That's the second one. Another interesting thing that I've seen, I only want to work on Kubernetes on AWS. And that's it, nothing else. Yeah, dude, we have that requirement today. You fit in, that's perfect. What if 6 months, 1 year later, that project closes? The project decides to change technology. Why are you so hung up on one stack? I understand you want to work on cutting edge, but that doesn't happen 100% of the time. Open up your mind. Be ready to explore. You are an AWS champion today. Why not learn Azure? Why not learn Terraform? Why not talk about other things? Be open. I want to go on site in the next 6 months. Dude, the position is advertised as base location Pune or base location Chennai or whatever. It is not an on-site role, right? Now, no organization can bet you and promise you to relocate you on-site in 6 months. Might happen, not happen. There are 100 variables to this, but that's what I'm hearing in the industry. Moral of the story, for the person with the right skill, with the right expectation, with the right frame of mind, and not asking unreasonable things, there are always jobs available. Number 4, how to make your profile stand out in the crowd. I like that famous line which is, show me the money, honey. And when you want to make your profile stand out, it translates to our world as, show me the projects, honey. What does it mean? In your profile, show me your GitHub profile. Show me live application links. Show me blogs, articles. Show me that you exist outside of your resume. Learn in public. Describe what you did in an organization, not what your company, not what your project, not what your technology did. Make your resume creatively. People are bored of looking at that long resume with text here, text there. It's too boring. If possible, make an ATS friendly resume in that boring format and then have a real resume, which is appealing to look at, maybe a little creatively designed. Put in some effort in that. After 24 years, my resume is 1 page long. Anything else you need to know? Come and ask. But it has got enough hooks to give me a damn good job. You, at 3 years of experience, how is your resume 6 page long? Think about it. And final tip on how to make you stand out in the crowd: be honest, speak with your heart. Trust me, it works. Alright, let's talk some crazy interview stories that I've seen recently. So, one customer that I was talking to, she said, hey, you know what? I'm seeing a lot of profiles with a lot of certification these days. Specifically, I've seen people with CKA, CKAD, Terraform, this, that, cloud certification. Everybody is certified. Nobody knows the real stuff these days. Somehow they are managing to get certificates. I don't know how. Please stop showing me profiles with just a certificate slapped on. That is not the criteria for me anymore. The only criteria for me is, what do you know? That goes back to my original point. Projects. Another crazy one. So in an interview that I was taking, I asked a guy, we had spent about half an hour or so in the interview, but somehow I got some doubt on his actual, coding skills. So I said, hey, you know what? Why don't you just open up a notepad and share your screen? And he did that. I said, hey, you know what? Pick up a language of your choice, any scripting language, doesn't matter, and write me a small script to add 2 strings. You know what happened? The guy got confused between an integer and a string. End of the interview. I got another resume which was beautifully written. The English in the resume was almost, Shashi Tharoor level. Brilliant, very impressive to look at. I start talking to the guy, he can't hardly even speak in English. I asked him, dude, this resume and what you're speaking doesn't match. What the hell? Turns out, ChatGPT. Be smart enough to copy with some sense. Change the language. Ask ChatGPT to make it simple. Don't use heavy words that you don't even know the meaning of. Then I went to ask him, okay, that's fine. Let's ignore the language. Don't worry about it. Tell me, how did you do this? You've written this in your resume. Tell me how you did this. The answer to that, no, that was actually, I liaised with another team, they did this. Okay, fine. This one was done by my senior. This one was done by my colleague. This one we tried to do but didn't happen because we didn't have access. So buddy, what the hell did you exactly do? How do I evaluate you? The last amazing experience. So a guy comes online to interview. We start about 5 minutes in. I ask him first question. He says, sorry, I don't know. Second question, throws a blank again. Third question, throws a blank again. Before I could ask the fourth question, disconnects from team. I thought, all right, maybe that's okay. Happens sometimes. Network failure, whatever. I wait for 5 minutes. Doesn't dial back. I dial back. Doesn't pick up. I try dialing back again. Logs off. I get his number from his profile, call him, phone switched off. We could never reach that guy back. What does this tell me? The guy just chickened out from an interview. You can't do this. This is not professionalism, for God's sake. It's okay if you don't know the answers. Just say, hey, maybe your expectation is a little higher. I'm not up to that level. I will need a month to pick up. I don't think this interview is gonna cut out for me. I'm sorry. Just leave it out. It's fine. Doesn't matter. But you can't bail out on an interview. Hope this video made sense. I've tried to cover quite a lot, and I have playlists on how to create your resume, how to prepare for interviews. That will give you a lot more to chew upon. Watch these videos next, and I'll see you in the next one.